opportunity to see it. He broke the bloody main sewer pipe, and we didn't have any
After a series of sea trials this weekend, the Aurora Australis will begin its journey to Tasmania to take up its duties as Australia's newest Antarctic research vessel. As part of final preparations, 2 special forklifts supplied by local company Rightlift were loaded today. The company won the tender to supply the vehicles over larger companies from Sydney and Melbourne. But these are no ordinary forklifts. Special factory modifications had to be made to aid the vehicle's operation in sub-zero temperatures, including antifreeze fluids and oils, and additional brackets to allow them to be lifted on and off the ship. As the ship is also a fishing and cargo vessel, the forklifts will become an integral part of the ship's daily operations.
The formal opening of the Hunter Workplace Resources Centre was backed encouragingly by a broad spectrum of union and industry leaders. It was only to be expected. The centre has already had some months to introduce itself to the local business community. Resource Centre Board Chairman Ron Robson stressed the need for companies to have expert guidance during complex tripartite restructuring programs. He says the results are worth it. The centre on King Street is one of the first to open in Australia. It will operate as an independent commercial enterprise, relying partly on government assistance for the first 3 years. Ultimately, the Resource Centre plans to play an important role in the restructuring of Australian industry to make it more internationally competitive. That's a goal Mr Robson says the Hunter is in a better position to realise than many other industrial centres.
For Roy Earpeth as he goes out on his last lap to successfully defend this title, and I think he's going to do it. That's something that's not often done in motorsport, but Roy Earpeth is going to do it. The New South Wales title goes to Roy Earpeth. Earpeth is first, Kearney is second.
In the State Modified Hot Rod Championships also held last night at the Motordrome, the defending champion Tony Hopping was not as lucky, having led from the start to the last lap, only to lose his title right on the finish line in an action-packed final. St George started the underdogs, but you wouldn't have known it in the first couple of minutes as Zoran Ilic went close, and then Dave Green was in the action, but this time Robert Zabika pulled off a great save. Koska and Ilic combined well for the Frank Arrock coach St George once again to rattle City. City's only real chance in the first half was laid on by Carl Vert, but his header sailed over the top. Adelaide opened well in the second half with Steve Maxwell putting John Phelan to the test, but he was equal to the task. Again, Maxwell troubled the St George defence with brilliant individual skills, but he went unrewarded. The referee left the pitch momentarily, a quiet word to a boisterous Frank Arrock. The deadlock was broken in the 67th minute, and after a good build-up and a partial clearance, City's Tony Vidmar latched onto a fine drive, and it was 1-0 to Adelaide. Arrock made a substitution, Steve Hickman on for Knight, and with his first touch, nearly equalised. But he made amends 4 minutes from full time. St George got a penalty about 25 metres out. The shot ricocheted off the wall and Hickman was on the spot to effect the back header, and the scores were locked at 1-1. City had the last throw of the dice and it was Maxwell who nearly gave City the win. But Phelan made another great save and the match ended as it probably should have, a draw. In warm conditions, the players were at a leisurely pace in the first half, with the odd bit of acting being more entertaining than constructive football. Howard Tredenick is back at Australs, and he showed his worth with a great cross for Wayne Bailey to score the first goal. Bobby Namoff is another who's back in the fold, and in the second half he was brilliant. Doug Ilfick finishing off this fine run for goal number 2. Canterbury grabbed one back with George Calagira showing sensational individual skills to get past Australs goalkeeper Craig Carter. Australs scored their third from a Namoff corner. Michael Bugard in position to knock it away. Bugard was again in the thick of it, a super ball to Ilfick, to Simon Brand on the rebound, and he did the rest. 4-1 and Australs were looking for number 5. It came from another Butte build-up by Australs, and poor Dosick of Canterbury got a red card for stopping Brett Porter scoring. From the penalty given, Bobby Namoff scored a well-deserved goal. The final score, BHP Australs 5, Canterbury 1. Eight events were held, from the wood chopping to a quoits contest, and the throwers knew what they were up to. There was plenty for the kids to do, with merry-go-rounds and jumping castles, variety stalls for the mums and live music. When the events got underway, it was Harold Winkle who dominated, winning the New South Wales Combination and Hard-Hitting Championships, and also the Hard-Hitting Individual event. John Starton won a second and a third, and David Dean and Steve Kirk also picked up medals.
These are the cricket clothes 10-year-old Warren Berry was wearing on Saturday morning. Warren suffered severe burns when he tried to remove a substance from a cricket pitch at Maitland. A jar and plastic bag were found near the pitch, and police believe teenagers may have been experimenting with household chemicals the day before. When Warren tried to scratch the white substance from the cement with the metal end of the wicket, the mixture began to sizzle, then flared, catching his clothes alight. Warren was taken to Maitland Hospital and then on to the Mater at Waratah, where he remains in a stable condition. The clothes and other evidence will be sent to Sydney tomorrow to be analysed. However, scientific police in Newcastle believe they know what the mixture contained and have issued a warning not to mix household chemicals.
If you don't know what it is, leave it alone. That's in that sort of arena, as well as ordnance, anything, explosives, bullets, anything. Leave it alone and call the police and we'll handle it for them.
Blockbusting Knights forward Sam Stewart is no doubt an intimidating figure on the football field, but it seemed even Sam had met his match today when he came face to face with a 2.5 metre replica of his own imposing form. The Sportrait, as it is known, was created by local artist Denny Thornborough, who is fast gaining a reputation for her cutouts of Australia's rugby league heroes.
I was a school teacher for 13 years and I started doing one as an example for a Year 9 class. One of my students painted one as well, and we sent those down to a football club to be given to charity or something like that, and the footballers wanted them for themselves, and it's sort of taken off from there.
Denny has immortalised numerous league greats, including Mal Meninga and Wally Lewis. How does it feel, Sam, to be made up into a larger-than-life-size portrait?
Well, just looking at it, it'd come in handy being this size on the football field, actually. I think the coach would, I don't know if he'll prefer him or me out there.
The Sam Stewart portrait will be among the sporting souvenirs in the auction to be held at Telecom's Newcastle Celebrity Dinner Auction tomorrow night at West's Leagues Club. Sam figures the cutout should go for a decent price, with all proceeds going to earthquake relief. But it will be interesting to see if the portrait actually makes it to the auction. Sam seems keen about acquiring it for himself.
The expansion and refurbishment of the golf course has been in the pipeline for 18 months. Although some preliminary work has begun, it could not start in earnest until Lake Macquarie Council relinquished its trusteeship of the land, allowing the club to negotiate a lease longer than 21 years. Last night, Council resolved to hand back control of the land to the Crown Lands Department so that the club can negotiate a long-term lease and begin redevelopment. The club hopes to increase the size of the course, upgrading it to championship and tournament standard. Over the next 5 years, more than $500,000 will be spent achieving this. Jodie McKay for NBN News.
The S&W Miller store at Mayfield has long been a target for petty crime, but this latest robbery is of special interest to police. This time, the thieves were seen. They drove a van to the rear of the showroom at about 4 a.m, where they backed into a closed roller door, knocking it from its tracks. Neighbours quickly realised what was happening and called police. The thieves were working against time to collect as much as they could. Within a few minutes, they'd loaded 8 colour televisions and a similar number of video cassette recorders valued at more than $6,000. With police just moments away, the van sped along Valencia Street into the night. But they didn't disappear without trace. Neighbours were able to give police a description of the vehicle. It was later recovered, dumped in Sydney, stolen from a Carrington factory. It's not known if the thieves got rid of their goods in Newcastle or risked carrying them to Sydney. Either way, police say it's the buyers who contribute to the problem.
It's an ongoing problem that we have. People think that they're getting a good product at a decent price and they think that they can get away with it. If someone offers you a product at an obviously ridiculous price, then you should be very wary, because the people who buy these are dealt with the same way as the thieves who stole them in the first place.
The next morning, detectives found the scene well preserved. They were able to identify tyre tracks, footprints and a machete apparently dropped by thieves in their haste. Police need more information. They want to hear from anyone who may have seen a white Toyota van, registration plates OWL 634, either before or after the robbery on February the 23rd. Police believe the men they're looking for may have been responsible for other break-ins, possibly at the same store. Your information could stop the next theft. The number to call is 008 422 199. There is a reward of up to $1,000 for information leading to an arrest.
All suburban trains stopped at 10 o'clock this morning. The only services on offer until 2 o'clock were 2 trains to Sydney and an hourly bus service to Maitland. The closure of the Toronto to Fassifern rail line from Saturday night is the beginning of changes to guards' rosters, which they say could lead to job losses. They put several proposals to State Rail to try to save the line, such as a 1-month extension while talks are held and operating to and from Toronto only at peak times. But the guards now accept the inevitable.
Because of the attitude of management of the SRA and the politicians, that there is no way in the world we're going to be able to save that line, because the only action we've got is strike action, and of course then we only hurt the public that we're there to assist.
But they haven't ruled out further industrial action altogether, fearing continuing alterations to services will disadvantage railway employees.
There's been nothing resolved there. The guards have agreed to work the new rosters under protest for 28 days and to enter into negotiations with a rostering committee with the State Rail Authority. Now, if the State Rail Authority don't wish to accept that, then we'll have a further stop work meeting to consider what we do there.
Raymond Terrace High School has had 3 PCB leaks in the last 6 months. Yesterday, yellow stains were noticed in 2 light fittings. Although an electrician has given the school the all clear, teachers are refusing to enter buildings which contain fluorescent lights with PCB capacitors.
We feel that if we're having leaks in one area, then it means that probably the other capacitors are leaking also. So therefore we do feel that we have a priority here and should have our whole school looked at and replaced.
Last year, when the danger of polychlorinated biphenyls was made known, the Education Department took on a 5-year program to remove the offending capacitors from the region schools. Light fittings at Raymond Terrace High are to be replaced in July, but teachers say that's not soon enough, and they'll hold classes outside until something is done.
The best that we have been given is that they're going to be replaced in July or August this year, and we feel that it's too long to wait.
So are you willing to stay out until then?
Would be under duress, but yes, the resolve is to do just that.
The Education Department, though, says the teachers are overreacting, and their decision to keep students out of classrooms will not hasten the replacement of light fittings in the school.
I don't believe I should vary the program we've already laid down, because I just can't respond to this kind of approach. I have to, I believe, have a program which we approach rationally right across the region.
According to Mr Beard, the biggest problem with PCBs is that the community knows little about them. Students at Raymond Terrace agree.
But we don't know enough about it. We are being kept in the dark slightly. I mean, teachers know about it and they're on the same side, but we still need to know because we're in there just as much as the teachers. We live here, we're here 5 days a week, and we're not given the full story of what it can do to us.
Just under 1,000 athletes from 88 centres throughout the state have entered the 2-day carnival, making it one of the largest to be held in the Hunter Valley. Ages range from 7 to 15, and each participant will take part in 6 events in track and field. They will contest the discus and the shot put, long jump, high jump and track events including the 100 metres and the hurdles. From these championships, the New South Wales under-15 team will be selected to compete at the national championships. Macquarie Shores are the defending state champs, and with possibly the largest number of entrants at the titles, they will be hard to toss once again. Monstrous seas whipped up by the recent cyclonic conditions made the task of the boat crews all but insurmountable. It was a battle just to get past the breaking waves close to shore, but once around the Cairns and heading for home, most crews expected the worst and it eventuated. If your boat wasn't flooded, making rowing impossible, the other option was to get airborne. And for the Bondi crew on this wave, it was a long way up and a longer way down. The first aid post looked like a battle station, with many competitors sporting cuts and abrasions, with the odd injury a bit more serious. No such drama on the beach, as the heats of the men's sprint were conducted without incident. Also, the preliminary rounds of the beach flags, dominated for years by Michael Jones of Redhead, this year a spectator, provided some fresh new faces who were keen to add their names to the state's honour roll. The ladies aren't forgotten, and they handled themselves well in the big seas, guiding their Malibus to the shore with consummate ease. Tomorrow, most finals will be conducted with the Ironman event scheduled for 4 o'clock. The huge seas are set to continue and spectacular action is assured tomorrow.
A small army of white-clad pharmacy workers rendezvoused at Maitland's Heritage Mall, preparing for their so-called anti-Fitzy door knock. Eric Fitzgibbon is one of a number of Labor members in marginal electorates that the chemists hope to unseat. They say the Hawke government plans to slash $250 million from the pharmaceutical benefits scheme. They fear a computerised Canberra-based monitoring system will bring about dispensing delays and intrude on customers' privacy.
Because what they want to do to you is turn you into a policeman for the social security system. They will end up with a Medicare card that really is an Australia card.
Armed with stickers, pamphlets and how-to-vote cards, the chemists took their case to the public, each planning to knock on around 50 doors in the electorate. Their message, vote Ashley Saunders to ensure the survival of local pharmacies. The chemists say they're not campaigning on a party political line. While they've endorsed a Liberal in Hunter, Democrat candidate Malcolm Martin initially won their support in the seat of Newcastle. However, with less than 2 weeks before polling day, Mr Martin may have lost a valuable ally. The chemists are now reconsidering their endorsement in the wake of the Democrat candidate's recent decision to redistribute his preferences.
The Democrat has had pressure put on him by other parties, and he feels that he cannot go ahead with an agreement which got our support. Now, we are not going to recommend a person to the people of Newcastle who simply can't make up his mind where he stands for the benefit of the people of Newcastle.
Meantime, Eric Fitzgibbon has described today's pharmacist door knock as a sham, a front for the Liberal Party, organised by Liberal Party members. Leslie Robinson, NBN News. This competition caters for all comers, from near novices taking their first steps into competitive ballroom dancing to accomplished performers who've mastered the art. The youngsters start as early as 6 years of age. They might be kids of the 90s, but they're no strangers to the dances of their grandparents' day. Within each dance, couples perform their own choreographed routines. Sometimes the best laid plans go wrong and collisions aren't uncommon. Devotees say stamina is essential. They say footballers have nothing on dancers when it comes to being fit. Serious competitors train for hours every day, intent on mastering their spin turns, pivots, oversways and throwaways.
These men are being trained to operate a 660 megawatt turbine power station which is being built at Bellangang in China. Elcom was awarded the $800,000 contract to teach the men at Aurora and Bayswater stations. The 16-week program includes simulator training, lectures on environmental controls, operational safety and on-the-job experience. Although the trainees have tertiary qualifications, their English is poor. To overcome the communications problem, the Migrant Education Service has provided 2 interpreters. Elcom hopes that by selling its expertise, it can gain international recognition.
We're very much looking for is to sell New South Wales Incorporated, that we would hope that we can sell coal outside Australia, that we can sell our expertise, our technical expertise, and we're looking at this project as a pilot project for perhaps similar projects.